Hey guys, what is going on? My name is Tom Spark and welcome back to another video. So guys, this article has been kind of trending lately in terms of the VPN community. A lot of people are happy to see that Movad, iVPN, and Mozilla VPN have topped some kind of research done by Consumer Reports. Now, I have a lot of problems with this report and I'm going to go into why into this video. The first thing I kind of want to mention is that I feel like this article was kind of intended to create a narrative with specific VPNs in mind before it was even made. Basically, what do I mean by that? Well, the person who wrote this article, called Yale Grauer, does seem to be a pretty good writer and researcher and stuff like that. However, there was already stuff written by this person who had already kind of made lists like this before, like on this article by Wirecutter, in which she pretty much was recommending Movad and iVPN. So before even going into this thing, it seemed like these VPNs were already going to be the thing, which can kind of present like a bias in terms of how the tests and stuff went on. If you already have two VPNs you like and are your favorite ones to recommend to people, doing an entire research around these VPNs out there does seem a little bit biased to me in some way. That said, I do want to talk about this kind of article itself and some of the problems I do have with it. You can look at the entire research paper here, and we're going to do that in this video. First off, I do want to mention that one of my problems with this research here and this collection of data is that it's really only specifically kind of comparing a certain amount of VPNs in each section. This makes sense because you can't really compare every VPN in the world in every section. However, that said, with most of the bulk of this research, it's focused on the VPNs mentioned here. Now, to be fair, they did go into some detail about the selection process. They are claiming they had a comprehensive list of 200 VPNs. However, it doesn't say they actually tested all these VPNs. They ended up narrowing it down to 51 VPNs, and for the final test, they ended up choosing VPNs with larger market shares and other markers such as quality, public ownership, open source code, and stuff like that. Now, this does make sense in some ways. However, I don't think that actually makes 100% sense. Because why did they forget to mention Torguard, AirVPN, Hi.me? These are VPNs that have pretty big public ownership, markers of quality. AirVPN has open source code, Hi.me has public security audits, and Torguard is a pretty well-known VPN in the industry. Well, we could take a look at some of these VPNs. Some of these VPNs, I'm not really sure why they were included. Something like BetterNet, something like F-Secure Freedom VPN or Kaspersky VPN, Private Tunnel. What is Private Tunnel? So I did some of the results here comparing like Mozilla to Torguard, AirVPN. Man, AirVPN is not doing too well, at least in terms of search results. Well, actually, let's look it up by AirVPN without the .org. And yeah, that's better. So at least in this comparison, it does seem like some of these VPNs that I'm mentioning, they didn't mention, are actually doing pretty much the same area of results. You can see here that they're pretty comparative. And even Torguard is more popular than Mozilla VPN in some cases. Some of these data right here, points you can see. And you can see some of these VPNs like Private Tunnel aren't really that popular. So I'm not really sure why they got included above something like Torguard or even like Hi.me. So I still not am entirely convinced of the selection process here. It does seem a little bit odd to me. Additionally, I'm not really sure why they needed to include Mozilla VPN when it's pretty much a carbon copy of Movad VPN. But if you take a look at other data too, like Alexa rankings, which shows the breakdown of websites and their rankings, you could see a more accurate kind of representation. Torguard rates 69K in terms of like most viewed websites. Private Tunnel is 272. BetterNet is 141. Additionally, some other VPNs I think they really should have included in this test are stuff like OVPN. It's really known for being one of the VPNs that did not give away logs. It's huge in Sweden, excellent VPN with public ownership and everything like that. Additionally, another VPN they didn't include in any of these tests is Private VPN, another huge VPN based in kind of that part of Europe. Another really trusted VPN provider with a pretty big audience that was not included anywhere in their comparisons either, which does have a lot of good things that they're looking for too. So yeah, that's kind of disappointing to see they didn't include those options. Basically what I'm trying to say is the VPNs VPNs that they're comparing to Molvad and stuff like iVPN generally are VPNs that aren't going to do well in a lot of these categories, which is kind of going to inflate how good Molvad and iVPN are in these categories. Take, for example, some of these things. Later on, we can look into stuff like privacy and stuff like that. Let's go down a little bit here, like data privacy evaluation. So this is going to analyze privacy policies and stuff like that. And maybe even it could look at stuff like cookies and stuff like that. As it says here, tracking campaign referral data and stuff like that. Obviously, Molvad is going to be way better than most of these VPNs here compared to stuff like CyberGhost, PIA. None of these VPNs, at least in my security audits, have anything like the ability to pass the blacklight test. That said, like I said before, they're not really comparing VPNs to Molvad that do well here. For example, they mention AirVPN Hide.me very, very sparingly in this test, or they mention it sometimes talking about niche features, but they don't actually use these VPNs in this comparison here. They also don't mention Torguard, VPN, Hide.me in these specific tests here in each section, like I'm saying here. So if we were to actually do this data control, access and data control, and compare it with some of the other VPNs, you would see much different results. So Torguard is pretty much going to be the same as Molvad. 0 trackers, 0 cookies on its website. AirVPN is pretty similar there. 0 trackers on Android. Hide.me, 0 trackers on their website, 0 trackers on Android, and pretty much perfect results there. But none of those VPNs are mentioned here at all, and they're only using it as a basic comparison, saying like, hey, Molvad and iVPN do pretty much better than all these other VPNs that generally aren't doing that well overall. Now, if the point of this paper was to be like, look how good Molvad and iVPN are compared to more popular VPNs, that's pretty much what this paper and research is showing you. However, it's not taking some of the other VPNs that do especially well and comparing them here either. That's my main problem with this research paper. If we look throughout this paper, there's not one mention of Torguard, there's not one mention of VPN, and there's only one mention of Hide.me just in this little Firefox extension discussion, and that's pretty much it. They're not mentioning any of these really, really good VPN providers here. If we actually go into like the final results of this paper, pretty much what they're going to be differentiating VPNs by, if at the end of the day, really what it comes down to is open source and public audits. And that's really what they're using as a metric to recommend VPN providers in terms of privacy and stuff like that. However, if this research paper is using public audits and open source clients as their main way to pick a VPN, well, why don't they include VPNs like Hide.me, which was one of the first VPNs to be audited by none other than this very respected auditor, and they won this security result in 2015, way long ago, before it was even cool to be audited, and I think before a lot of these VPNs were audited. Not only that, but they didn't include any information about AirVPN in any of these comparisons, and it's one of the best open source clients hands down, and in fact I think one of the first open source VPN clients there ever was. And they didn't include really any mention or use this as a metric of comparison either in their little final summary. Now, that's not to say that Molvad, iVPN are not good products, because Molvad is an A-tier VPN on my tier list. iVPN, not so much, because while it does present privacy and security to really good extent, it's lacking in other areas. It's expensive. It doesn't work with streaming compatibility. There are other reasons why people use VPNs just besides privacy, and a lot of people like using VPNs for other reasons, so that's something to definitely consider too, that this research paper doesn't take into consideration. Additionally, Molvad did not support two-factor authentication, so it wasn't really perfect in my analysis of the backend security and stuff like that due to its unique account creation system. Overall, guys, that's my opinions on this little white paper here. Overall, I think it doesn't provide enough realistic comparison of good VPNs, and it kind of has fluffed out the results with kind of these VPNs that don't really deserve to be here. Why was BetterNet, Kaspersky, and even Mozilla VPN included here when it's pretty much the same exact VPN as Molvad? Look, they're even the same results pretty much every time. So yeah, I don't know. Anyways, guys, hope you liked this video, and I'll see you again very soon.